I'm sorry, I'm working, I'm not fishing. You're fishing.
So no, that's what people start making
And she's going to a hoedown.
real steps up.
You got a problem, Scott Davis, trying to take care of his.
All that stuff's going at 25 to 50%.
You should make that stuff here.
And we're gonna start making it.
Yeah, I think that'd be okay with the brother said. So I think it's
Agreement.
I'm just trying to follow our business.
Okay.
Is there any-
stuff?
It's just a workshop.
Still 100% there.
Yeah, I saw something.
Everybody's gonna start getting.
Hurts like a man.
Good one.
I couldn't take no sense.
Extra money sitting there just in case this happens.
I'm a massive environmental.
We'll call this meeting to order. This is a commission workshop of the City of Callaway Board of Commissioners. It is Thursday, April 3rd, 2025. It's 10 a.m. If y'all will stand with me, Commissioner Pelletier, will you do the invocation? Commissioner Griggs, please lead us in the pledge.
Lord, we thank you for allowing us to gather today, and we pray for your guidance in making decisions for our city and citizens. We thank you for our first responders, and we ask that you look over them and their family. We thank you for our citizens and employees, and pray for them, for them. Thank you. I'm sorry. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk, please do a roll call.
Commissioner Griggs,
Here.
Commissioner Pelletier,
Here.
Commissioner Ayers, Mayor Henderson,
Here.
and Scott Davis is available by phone in attendance.
Scott, can you hear? Hold on. All right, try it again. Are you there?
Here.
Better than that.
You can hear him better than you hear us.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a workshop. We have one topic, so public participation will just consist, if anybody wants to make a comment, after we discuss this one item, that will be the only public participation we will have. So same rules as at a meeting. If you choose, when you come up, you can state your name and address for the record. Then your 3 minutes will begin to speak on the RV ordinance. So we will go on to our one item, ordinance number 1114, LDR amendment, recreational equipment storage, discussion only. So, city manager, do you want to start on this? We don't need to read it by title since it's a workshop.
That's up to y'all if y'all want to go ahead. Staff met, we discussed this whole entire ordinance. We did supply y'all with a revised, document reflecting our comments. Kevin, I'm sorry you were left out of that email yesterday, so I know it's the first time you've seen me.
I mean,
Don't worry.
it's just the things that we talked about at the meeting.
No,
Well,
there's
yes,
more.
but we changed some stuff. So
We changed some stuff.
one of the things that we kind of got into was the definition between a lot and a parcel.
Right.
And most parcels, if you look at the legal description, especially in what we consider the old Callaway plat, lots of parcels are 2.6 different lots together. So we changed the word lots to parcels in this. You have a parcel, the parcel generally has an address, and that's your property, it's your parcel address. So we did change, in here one place where it says lot, we did change it to parcel. Kevin, there was one part in there that talked about a lot line. We changed it to parcel line, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, that was, that way, we're talking about parcels, we're not talking about lots. Does everybody understand what we're talking about when we say lots? When stuff's platted out, the old Callaway plat contained, that's where they platted it, and it was recorded as these are how things are laid out. But as the city grew and they started making parcels and everything, the lot descriptions are still there. In fact, if you read the description of your parcel, a lot of times it'll say lots 2 and 3 and part 4 as contained 25 foot in, blah, blah, blah. And so when you start looking at that, so we needed to get away from doing lots because lots don't have addresses.
Right.
Parcels do. So we changed everything that had to do with lot into parcel. Now, when staff started looking over this, we started looking at, there was issues of the backyard is not regulated in this ordinance. If you have a fence and you put stuff behind it, you can't see it, you can't enforce it. And so, because of that, there was discussion that, well, if you have an adjacent lot to it, well, you could just put one over there. We completely disagree that if you have an extra lot, an extra parcel, that you should be able to. Just because you have more land doesn't mean you get to store more stuff. I know that's kind of harsh to put it that way. So, but also, when we talk about putting a fence, you can't put a fence up on a vacant parcel. Now, vacant parcel is considered something that doesn't have a structure on it. So if you own a parcel and there's no structure on it, you can't put a fence up, you can't put a pole barn. We've done this multiple times across the cities, across our city, where somebody will come in and go, I want to put a pole barn up. We make them go and join your property into one big parcel, and you can put your fence on the other one because it's part of it.
We always have a prohibition on accessory uses without a primary use. So like, now if you combine your parcel to one parcel ID, then it's no problem.
That's no
You
problem.
can't just have an accessory use on there without a primary.
There's a very simple process to combine parcels. You go down to the property appraiser, you tell them you want to combine, they're gonna take the two descriptions, combine them together, you're gonna have to have a survey done, of course, because you'll have to get a new, basically parcel description. But at the same time, we also split parcels all the time. Splitting parcels is exactly the same process as combining. In fact, I think the form is exactly the same. If y'all remember, we did this for Habitat for Humanity. They came in and they had 2 lots and they wanted 4. They went to the property appraiser, they look it over. If they think it's okay, they send it to the city will then double check the zoning to make sure it fits in our zoning standards. And then if it's okay, then we approve it, it goes back over, and it's done. It doesn't even come to commission for approval. It's just some standard daily operating stuff. So what we're saying is, if you have a vacant lot next to you, a parcel, if you have a vacant parcel next to you, you can't store anything on it. We don't allow you to do anything else on it. This is gonna create an issue for us of having stuff stored on a vacant parcel. We're requesting that it be combined into one parcel. The ordinance will hold true. And of course, we don't consider addresses as part of this ordinance. We're looking at the parcel, not the address. If you got 2 addresses, you just got 2 addresses. When you combine the parcels, you're gonna get 1. You don't get 2. It's 1 parcel, 1 address. So, and that's just kind of the things, we integrated the things that we talked about the last time. As far as, so for number 3, under recreational equipment, that's bold number 1 and under the very first section. Number 3, we just said major recreational equipment shall not be parked or stored on any vacant parcel. That sums it all up. Very simple.
Right.
And then under B, below that, it just says we changed the word lot to parcel. From parcel line, side parcel line. These are all highlighted, which are highlighted in yellow. And then, of course, under 7, we talked about this at the last meeting, the property owner or tenant. Licensed and registered to the property owner or tenant. That way, if it's rented, we're good to go. We can do that. So that's really all that staff's comments have about this. Go ahead and tell you, glad this was brought up at the last meeting. It's something that we didn't really put too much thought into at the time. So us having time to go back over it and have this workshop and kind of tell you staff's comments on it. Of course, if there's anything that y'all want changed, we will make those changes, and staff will follow direction, and I'll go ahead and state for the record, I have met with staff. When this thing goes into effect, we will go out and enforce it.
We're going to
It's
do
not going to be
proactive or
proactive.
reactive.
We're going to be proactive. We're going to go out. It's not going to be ticket. It's going to be notice, and then it's going to be ticket. I'm not quite sure. We were trying to figure out, I know, Kip, the sheriff's office came up and made some comments. We're not quite sure what, and I meant to get in touch with him to figure out what his comments were concerning that. When it comes to code enforcement, it's code enforcement.
Right.
The only time we get the sheriff's office involved is,
His concern was about the vacant parcels.
Yeah.
And if you had somebody, even just storing it, well, then it turns into people
And that
living on
takes
it.
care of
That's a
the
yeah,
problem.
problem.
but that still comes to, it's into a code enforcement issue. It's not a sheriff's office issue.
But it was more about, trying to evict them or
Yeah,
judge
but,
it.
if there's an eviction issue,
That's
we
still
have-
civil.
Yeah, we still have tons of that goes on where people are going and actually moving into people's storage buildings. And they come home and find them. And because they've been there for X amount of time, they have to go through an eviction process.
Yeah, I think his point was if you allow it on vacant parcels, then it just sort of exacerbates a potential problem.
Yeah.
That
But
they
I
can't
think
really
this,
do much about.
and I wanted to get with Kip, but I think this will take care of those issues, so we're open to comments from commission.
Did you have anything,
No,
Commissioner, since you're the one that called the workshop?
Called it
or asked
'cause
for the
we-
workshop?
We discussed this for an hour and weren't going anywhere that night.
Right.
And I know, we had, Commissioner there was on the fence. And, I thought maybe we could sit back and think about this, and I had discussions with the city manager. And the only thing that probably I'd like to open for discussion is the size. We have a size restriction now, and I know that the triangle is supposed to take care of the size, but you got to remember, a 40-foot Class A is a big Class A. And I don't know if we wanna get into sizes, but you've got boats in yards that are humongous, So I don't know if we wanna discuss size and restrict size or not. Probably not gonna have that many people owning 40, I haven't seen but one or two 40-footers. And the ones that I've seen, one happens to be on, Beulah. Matter of fact, he's had two of them, two 40-footers out there, plus a huge boat, which, will come to an end with this. So, I don't know,
The only issue staff has with size is that we can't walk on their property and measure it.
right,
So it's gonna be, we're gonna have to make estimates, or we're gonna have to go and say, hey, how big is
Right.
this? That was one of the great things, with what Commissioner Griggs brought up about the site triangles.
right.
As long as they're not blocking,
If they're not
do
obstructing
you
with
really,
you.
yeah, do you really, do you wanna say, oh, I'm okay with the 30-footer next door, but I'm not okay with the 40-footer?
Yeah, I was just thinking, Mr. Shaner has been a citizen here, and I, he's come to every meeting ever since I've been on this commission. He's not missed a commission meeting. And thinking of, although it's one comment, I do know, Commissioner Griggs and I have owned multiple types of RVs. And I know the 40-footer is a monster, it's a bus, And, so I just want to throw that out. And of course, the issue is, is gonna be enforcing. And, it's gonna be a full-time job initially, because you've got already properties out there with 2 trailers. They have a trailer and a boat. Is that, if they have a trailer and a boat, then one of the trailers have gotta go, or the boat's gotta go. I like this ordinance, because if we don't do this, we need to do something about boats. For years and years and years, we kind of look to the right on boats, because there's so many of them in the city, and, so I like the way this is written. It's a lot of people don't realize how restricted this is. They'll know once we vote on it, and then we start hitting, putting citations out, or a notice of violations out there. And, but the key thing is that we're taking care of boats, because we kind of didn't discriminate, but we kind of were, ignoring boats when we were picking on the RV folks. So I kind of like that. So, I don't agree with some of the comments that we rolled over on just because a couple citizens showed up. I think it was time for us to kind of take a look at, we're gonna solve the boat issue in RV, and we're doing that with this. So,
Every document's a living document.
right.
We grow, we get better.
So my concerns were, and staff had already made changes to this. I'm okay the way it's written now.
I'm good with the changes the
Right.
staff made, because I was concerned about that vacant parcel.
Right. I
We
agree.
don't need to start having things just sitting, that's gonna make the city.
It's already happening already. There's a couple of streets that I drove by,
Yes.
that I've seen RVs on vacant parcel, and who does it belong to?
That's it.
And
and
this
that's-
particular street is in your neighborhood.
Well, and since the hurricane, we have a lot more vacant parcels than
Right.
we used to have, where houses were destroyed,
Yeah,
and now
right.
it's just sitting there. And that's it, that's gonna be a lot of work for code enforcement
Right.
to chase down, well, who does this belong to and who does this RV belong to?
Right. Yeah, there was a vacant lot, there's an apartment complex and then a vacant lot, and that, Class C is gone now. But I can see that happening every time you have a vacant lot, you got an RV on it. And, that'll take care of all the vacant lots.
Now, a question that I have, and I don't know, if you have pickup truck and you have a trailer attached to the back of it, you know, just like a flatbed kind of trailer that you pull in the driveway, then you have a boat on the side of the house, doesn't one of those have to go?
Not if it's attached to the truck.
Okay, so if you got a
Right, yeah.
trailer,
Cause I mean, a lot of guys like mowing crews would come up and they would just keep it attached and they stop and then they just back up and go the next day.
If you take it off and store it there, then it's.
Yeah, if it's not
so
stored,
if
if
it's
it's
attached to a
it's
truck,
Correct.
no.
And then I think, did we not have a,
Now, would that apply to, you know, like a horse trailer looking? If that's attached to a truck, that can be in the driveway and you can have a boat on the
I mean,
side.
I think the argument would, it would have to stay attached to that truck.
yeah,
Okay, always.
Yeah.
So say, just attach it,
But you have to.
if they attach it, then it's stored, and then we can say no.
okay.
That's just. the
Or
way
pull
we-
one
it's
around
kinda
the back or side yard.
Yeah.
I was just curious, cause I had seen that the other day and I thought, well, can he have that trailer and have a boat, so.
And I will tell you, Commissioner, you know, if you don't want to do recreational trailers and the commission decides against it, we're gonna bring back almost the exact same thing, it's gonna say
The
boats.
boats, right. I agree,
It's gotta happen because
Right.
we're gonna have to have some direction on boats.
Mhm.
Yes, this has been, this community, 80% of everything, 80% plus is boats. I think Bonnie said since 2011, we've had 100 and something cases of trailers.
148.
That's not a lot.
No,
And a lot of our offenders are, I hate to say this, they're repeat offenders.
Mhm.
That's always the issue. And so, but we'll have to have something come back for votes, so if we don't wanna do trailers, we'll just change the word recreational to boats.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with this. I think it covers both sides. It takes care of the boat owners and it takes care of the RV owners. And then you're not gonna have an RV and a boat in a yard. You're gonna have to have either or.
Yeah.
And we have that already, where we have RVs and boats, or we have 2 or 3 boats. I know quite a few homes in Callaway that have 2 or 3 boats. And that'll take care of all, more or less what people say, clutter.
Fences can go from the front facade out. So even though anything behind the fence, and I think this is something to be said, if they have a gate and they open that gate and they push that boat and it's beside the house, but if they close that fence, it's behind the fence.
Right.
It's gonna, so we can't just say behind the house, it's really gotta be behind the fence.
Right.
We look at it as in terms of out of sight, out of mind. I also want to state that, when we say out of sight, out of mind, if it's behind the fence, it's considered out of sight.
Yeah.
Just because you see the top of a boat, we're not going after that.
or an RV.
Yeah, if we see the top of an RV on the other side of the fence, it's not, we just can't. Their intent is it's hidden behind. And next thing you're gonna have happen is they're gonna go up and put poles up and put tarps across it, so that you can't see the boat. I mean, they'll just come a ways around it. So we look at it in terms of if it's behind a fence, and I just wanted that stated for the record, that if it's behind a fence, it's out of sight. Not ignoring you.
You're being quiet over there.
Do you have anything to say?
I have a question. On page 3 of 4, what does number 6 mean? Is it near the top?
On page what?
3 of 4.
Yeah. Number 6, that's it.
May not be parked and stored in required parking spaces of multiple families.
In other words, you can't store it at an apartment complex.
Oh, got you. Okay,
Like a multifamily.
I got you. What that was, I'm trying to think.
That's okay.
How does that happen with houses? If they own 2 houses and their driveways are next to each other, they park it sideways or?
You know,
You know what I'm saying?
Attached to, you know, quadplex or apartment complex.
Perpendicular.
Storage.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
And then HOAs,
Which does either have HOAs or a lot of
This-
apartment complexes have rules.
this is not gonna preclude HOAs,
They-
HOAs have got their own rules.
They can be,
That's right.
like, they can be very restrictive.
Well, actually, it does. They can be more
They can
restrictive.
be more restrictive.
but they
Oh, yeah,
can't be
more
less
restrictive.
restrictive.
Yeah, but we
So if
can't,
an HOA says, oh, you can put as much as you want in your front yard, no, you're gonna follow our ordinance. But they could say, we don't want anything in the yard, but they enforce it, we don't.
right.
We're just gonna be enforcing this ordinance across the board.
I don't know of any HOAs that we've had over the last 5 to 6 years that allow them to do whatever they want. They're very restricted.
And this is also townhouses. Connected townhouses.
Multifamily, yeah.
Multifamily.
Concerning size of the, let's say the size of the RVs, I know where you're going,
Right.
you know, where you mean on that. Kind of way I look at that is that, our building regulations require a 40-foot setback from the front easement. Okay? Now, when we say in here, you cannot be on the right of way, you can't be on the right of way. That means the trailer also, cause you may have a, 30-foot boat, and then your tongue on your trailer is there, so if the tongue is on that right of way, that's a problem. And most of the homes these days are actually built 40 feet from there, so you're not gonna be able to, you can back it all the way up to your garage door, on a 45-foot, or 42-foot motor home, and you're gonna be on the right of way. So it's gonna kind of self-restrict that, and anybody that's got an acre of property, doesn't make any difference anyway.
Exactly.
And the right of way starts where the sidewalk starts, right?
But the
In other words, we got a sidewalk going across the
always.
driveway.
Not always.
But it'll be pretty close.
It's a good rule of thumb, you can also look at utility poles.
Utility pole, yeah.
Utility poles are always at the back of the right of way. We may see people come to us, cause there's a lot of, when you start talking about that old Callaway plat, and we talk about the train station that used to be Gore Park, Beulah's got 60-foot, 60 and 80-foot right of ways through there.
So they can block the sidewalks, what you tell me.
No,
No, you can't be,
No, you cannot
the
block
sidewalk will be in the right of way, you
That's
can't be in
why
the right
I
of way.
asked that question.
But you can't just look,
You cannot.
there may be a sidewalk, and you might have another 15 feet of right of way, you just think it's their front yard.
Okay.
Just because you have some wider right of ways that are
Yeah, I meant,
unused.
in other words, you can't impede.
we're
on
gonna
that
use the
sidewalk.
sidewalk as a guide in a lot of places. We'll use the sidewalk as a guide.
Yeah, because you
have
can't
some
walk
that
down
have
the sidewalk.
Right of ways that go 30 foot inside the sidewalk, we're not gonna go out and be looking at,
Yeah.
we're gonna be looking at side triangles and sidewalks.
Yeah, most of the complaints I get is.
You're not even supposed to
sidewalk.
No,
Especially
That
around
must be the right way.
I get that all the
So
time.
they're
I would
trying
say
to
it
back
happens
the
a
sidewalk.
lot because people, which,
Yeah.
I'd rather they block the sidewalk than be blocked in the street, honestly.
Right.
Yeah, but then the handicap, they
Should that
say,
sidewalk language be added in there? So somebody said, well, it wasn't wrote in there.
Well, it's right of way, a sidewalk is always gonna be in the
The
right of way.
sidewalk's always in the right of way.
Gotcha. All right.
As far as that, motorhome cab over, actually, on the, Simpleton Circle, he was there working on his property, they're eventually building, but they'll come in approximately a week at a time or so to work on that to work on that property. They've been doing that for, about 4 years now. No electricity, no water, or anything to that property. And actually, ironically, we got 2 board members from of the planning board, that one's on one side of it, one's on the other side of it.
With this, it won't be authorized.
Pardon?
With this new, he won't be able to park that there anymore.
Well, he's parking there just like that's an automobile, that he's parking there to work on his property, and then he's leaving.
But what I'm saying is that it's an RV parked in a vacant lot, and this will include it.
Yeah,
He won't be able to do that anymore, so we know we're gonna have
There's
to.
only one.
Pardon?
There's only one.
Only one what?
RV.
But it's a vacant lot.
But it is,
It's a vacant
is it
parcel.
commercial?
It's
I
already
don't-
in construction.
I don't know who owns the property. I don't know if it's.
What's he working on the property? What's he doing?
he's trying to prepare, or get it prepared for building a home on it, so.
See, we're not gonna get into that with commercial guys, are we? You know, when
This is
they're building-
This is not a commercial guy,
Yeah.
this is a property owner.
It's a
Okay.
property.
When we're building on a lot, we don't care if they have.
Yeah,
a
this is
trailer.
all recreational stuff.
Okay, because we don't wanna restrict our commercial guys from building a house and bringing their equipment.
This is recreational.
Yes, sir.
So would this be in violation of the
If
person?
he's not building on that lot, he's working on his home next to it, right?
No,
He's building a
he's
home
working
there.
on the lot prepared for the building of the house.
Yeah, I didn't see that far, cause
We should treat him like.
4 years of prepping?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or is it 4 years of I get to come out here and still love the beach?
So you ought to see the springs that are going through that property.
I just see that as a problem for code enforcement, cause it's a vacant lot.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the reason why I bring it up, because you see things, I see things as I drive through the city, you know, and there's a lot of things that I've seen over the years, but that particular one I brought up, the simple fact that I've seen it off and on, I saw it again, he's there for a few days and goes, but this would preclude him from doing that. So as soon as he gets a notice of violation, he's gonna call you and say, I've been doing this for 4 years, what's up?
Well, see, I kinda look at it another way, he's out of town, military, he's out of town. And he drives into town with that vehicle, goes to his lot, works on it, whatever, then gets in his vehicle and leaves town. I mean,
Where does he stay while
living
he's
in?
here?
well, he stays in his vehicle, on his vehicle,
So he's living.
but he's not hooked up to anything.
But still, he's living there.
Right.
Which is another violation.
Right. So what the only reason why I brought it, because it was up in your area, is
Yeah.
that this will stop that. Because one, he's living in it, like the mayor says, can't live in it, okay? 2 is that it is a vacant lot. And I don't know what he was doing out front. My concern, my thought was that it had to do with the apartment complex there, instead of, him working on a vacant lot.
And if he is military, there's an RV park just right down the street here, just over the bridge where he can park it all day long.
Mhm.
Of course, he has to pay for it.
Nobody wants, yeah,
But it's inexpensive compared to the
Yeah.
others, because it is military.
yeah, and there's always available spaces there, but it's not. I understand what the Commissioner's saying, is that he wants to be able to work on his property, but this will stop that.
You know,
So,
if he stays there, but I'm talking about if he drives there, and he say, works on the property, and then like you're talking about, he could drive over the bridge, park over there overnight, and then come back the next day, and you'll see the RV on that property as he's continuing to work on
And he's got 24 hours to leave it there, right?
it,
he's got a car
As
too.
long as he doesn't stay in it.
yeah.
Wasn't he towing a
Sounds
car?
like
No.
that's his vehicle.
Well, no, he does have a car.
He's got a car attached to this Class C.
Actually, there's not a structure
Right,
there.
right.
You don't
So
park
it
it.
wouldn't qualify.
You can't park it there, that's what I mean.
You can't park
That's,
there.
that's why I'm
You don't
bringing
have
these things
24
up.
hours.
That's
I
good
mean,
to talk
you bring
about,
up-
so we
bring
can
up
understand it.
Right.
Okay, but I'm just gonna say this, we're gonna get in the weeds, we can find 1, 2s, and 3s,
Oh, yeah.
things that are gonna be able, we're always gonna find it. And we're not gonna be able to just solve it with a swoop of the pen, and this is where code enforcement will come in.
Right.
And they'll, you know, they're gonna, at their discretion, work with the property owner, and so we'll just have to see how that pans out. Not saying he's not in violation, not saying he is in violation, I'm just saying some of these things just become anomalies of, do you say, don't park it there? Well, I just parked it here for the day, I'm here with it. Well, is that really, it's his property, it's the vehicle that he's using to get to the property, does that make it a violation?
And he's sitting around it the
Right,
whole
is it,
time.
is it for recreational use?
Yeah, is he using it for recreational use, or did he use it to come over there to work on his property?
No, he's actually living in here.
Yeah, well, that's, I mean, it's separate issue. If they live there, we're not stopping.
Yeah, that's a separate issue, but I'm just saying, if you're talking about he's there, he's just working on his parcel, that's one thing.
What he's doing is not very much recreation, I tell you.
That's why I'm saying that people don't understand how restricted this ordinance is gonna be.
It is, it's gonna be,
It's very restrictive. It allows RVs, but it's gonna be very restrictive, not only for RVs, but for boats. Because right now, boats are kinda doing what they wanna do.
This is gonna be good.
Well, the right of way will solve a lot of problems, but the good thing about this is covering, as we talked about at the last meeting, this is covering trailers, utility trailers and all that business. Some of these properties have several.
Yeah, it's whole yards, trailers all over the place.
I have several, but they're all behind
The fence.
fence, everything.
yeah,
I
we
saw
got
that
our,
when your fence was open.
Yeah. You're not allowed to use those flyover things, so.
Well, I must say, I breezed over this and then went back and read it for content, and it's well written. I'm glad you took the time to go back and, cross the Ts and dot the Is on it. It looks good.
And
I know
I'm
people
kind
don't like
of,
workshops, but this worked out really well,
Well,
for staff anyway.
yeah.
Sorry, Terry, you weren't included in that staff. I'm saving money.
I'm gonna repeat a statement, and of course I like it. I'm gonna repeat a statement I made at the meeting. But if people with RVs and boats and all sitting in their front yard, their front driveway, are trying to sell their property, they're gonna be the first ones to move their RVs but unfortunately, the neighbor who's trying to sell their property and has the RVs and the boats and whatever parked in the driveways on each side of him, he's gonna be upset, wrong finger.
I can speak to that. You know, the house next to us have sold, since I've been here, 4 times now. And, of course, their property tax is 4 times mine, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
And I've had an RV parked on the side of the house ever since, up until 2 or 3 years ago. And that house continued to sell, because the RV's there, whoever's buying the house knows it's there. And if they don't if they don't like that RV, they just won't buy the house.
It's on the side of the house, though.
It's on the side,
Yeah,
but it doesn't matter if it's on the side or in the front, you know, people still, you know, when you start thinking about RVs, it's gonna hurt the sale. In my particular neighborhood, it hasn't, you know, that house, you know, and I've had a 36 footer there. And, I've had, at one time I had, because of my pad, an RV and a boat. So my current wife met me, she says, you got a yard full of stuff. Not counting the garage. But anyhow.
I think there can be worse things in a neighborhood than an RV.
Mhm.
And this is gonna be restricted,
Right.
they're not gonna be able to be parked every which way, all over the place.
But I think Commissioner Briggs has a good example of this. Everybody that's come in front of us over the last couple of years they're concerned about their property value because of the RV they are. Every one of them has discussed that.
but I'm good with the way this is written.
I am too.
And a recreational vehicle will also consider jet skis. Make sure everybody understands that. You can't have a boat with a jet ski.
It's
Get a
clear
single
here.
or a double. trailer is one recreational vehicle. So they know it's one trailer, and we're looking at the trailer, and we're not looking at the fact that there's two on it. But if you've got a boat, that's gonna go in the backyard.
Well, it's nice and clear here, it defines everything.
Yeah, I'm just trying to just wanna make sure we have this spoken out.
We
So
can't
They don't
vote
come back and
this
go,
one.
oh, you didn't tell us this.
Yeah. You might wanna save that for the meeting.
And it also covers even things that are unregistered vehicles such as dune buggies and race cars, because you don't have to do that, but they're gonna be covered in this.
But they're not allowed to be parked in the yard, correct? Because they're not
That's right.
registered.
We added
It's in the
to,
definitions, right there.
I thought he specifically mentioned that they had, right there, number 7 on 3 or 4.
correct, shall not be permitted. So we're gonna have. And down here, they do race cars, back where I grew up, we had demolition derbies.
Do we have any more comment up here before I let the audience speak?
Not on this.
Who in the audience would like to speak?
Go ahead, John.
We don't know who's going. I'm getting up here.
Just one of you come on up.
So,
We can all work together.
City Manager, you said and I'm gonna quote you, and we can review the video. 5 minutes ago, you said that code enforcement is going to take care of things at their discretion. I would, after I finish my little 3 minutes, I wanna get clarification on you, if it's at their discretion, or if it's like at the black and white, because hopefully it's not at their discretion. The vision triangle, I've asked about this vision triangle a lot. Is there something else in any of our code that has this, or is it something that's new and getting introduced? I believe that it's something new and getting introduced because every single diagram that we have been handed in a handout is not imagery from the city of Callaway. This is from Bismarck, North Dakota. The other ones were from like California and I think Colorado. So, you know, I understand that vision is an important thing to be able to see where you're pulling out and everything, but if this isn't already something that's in the code somewhere else and something else, you know, that we as citizens in Callaway get enforced upon us, then why is it just now making it in here, you know? And I'm one of those people that I have a small little car that when I'm in my car and if my wife parks her truck, I can't see past the truck. So I don't understand why we're gonna worry about, you know, an RV. I mean, I can't see past my RV if I park my RV in my driveway either. But obviously I will, which I can't speak for everybody because I will be able to fit my RV in my driveway and meet this random picture that somebody's doing here. But not everybody's gonna be fortunate enough to have that long of a driveway, so just wanna know where that came from, if it's anything else, and then if we can get some clarification on the discretion of the city manager. Thank you.
Let me answer that. When this RV situation was brought up, it was brought up after the Panama City had passed this regulation. And the first reading that we had on the RV situation mirrored the Panama City regulation. And Panama City regulation was the one that came up with, actually had the vision triangle in, which is really a term that is actually used when constructing properties and all that. Now, prior to the last meeting, and when I saw that in there, I actually went online and started looking up vision triangles. And that's when I actually copied out some to take a look at what they were, and they actually had figures on them, which applied for particular city, et cetera. But various cities had the same thing and all steered the same way, just they had different, values attached to them. Some of them had 15 feet, some of them had 10 feet, some of them had 25 feet, as far as part of the angles on there. I tried to, contact Panama City to find out what their values would be and what their definition and all would be. And, couldn't reach the people that I needed to before that meeting. So we turned that over to, Kevin, our attorney, to come up with something on there, to at least identify with a picture what Vision Triangle was. And that's where that came from. But the reason we put it in the ordinance was because people wanted us to do the same thing that Panama City was doing. And we have to some degree, but not completely. But since that wording was in there, we put it in this particular. I think I stated that accurately.
Yeah, I mean, the diagram is there just to kind of illustrate and make that vision triangle a little bit more understandable, because when we just had the verbiage, people were kind of like, I don't know exactly how does that work? So Commissioner Griggs went to the trouble to come up with the diagram to give people an idea, because sometimes it's easier to see a picture than just to see the words. So that's why it's not a Panama City or a Callaway diagram. It's just kind of a standard diagram. You know, you go online and you pull something up. If you're looking for an example of something, you look for an example and you don't know where it might come from, but you find the example that you were looking for.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing we added, we've had Vision Triangle in our LDR for years and years and years and years. And years. So this a Vision Triangle is not new. It's been in Callaway for as long as I can remember. This ordinance is, you can see we struck through the old definition and kind of incorporated the new definition.
Where's the diagram from?
We got
the diagrams just for illustration purposes, is to show an example.
Right. We got the picture in here, but then we had the verbiage. Now, if you read the verbiage without the picture, you may not understand.
Yeah, we had an existing Vision Triangle in our code, but we never had an illustration. So I think after that discussion we wanted to have some sort of, and it says it's for illustration purposes only. So the verbiage is what controls.
Did you want to address the discretion question?
Yes. There's no such thing as black and white. If you're driving down the road, if you're driving down the road and you're doing 1 mile over the speed limit, are you gonna get a speeding ticket?
I have someone who gets speeding tickets, and
Well,
more
no,
than one of us who said,
If you're gonna talk, you need to.
And I'm just saying that I've been in cities where we have 10-mile-an-hour discretions on speed limits. And that is because of, they'll talk about the calibration of the machines and blah, blah, blah. So they say, hey, get them at 10 mile an hour. Officer has that discretion on, oh, what was your circumstance? What was your situation? We're gonna follow this as well as we can, but I can't sit here and tell you every time something gets solved, there may not be a reason for the way it is at the time. That doesn't mean they're gonna drive by. I'm just saying they may just stop in and talk to them, rather than give them a notice of violation and send out letters and go through all that stuff. Everything with code enforcement, unfortunately, it's not black and white. We try to make it that way, but at the same time, if I sat up here and said every violation will be addressed, that's a lie. That's not the way it works. I mean, there's discretion in the way code enforcement has to handle just based on that specific situation. I don't have a specific situation right now, hadn't observed it, we hadn't put it in effect. But I always say that there is discretion in there, that, you know, there may be a situation that we haven't thought of that's gonna come up, and the officer says, now that doesn't, and I'm not saying discretion as in, oh, you can break the law and we'll let you do it. It's discretion on how they handle the situation. A violation is a violation, no matter what. Even when you get stopped, you can get a warning. Sometimes they just say, slow down, I don't wanna have to do the paperwork on a warning. Sometimes they just flat out just nail you with a ticket. So it's always that officer that has that, but I'm not saying that discretion means they go, we won't follow that for you. That's not it, no. Everyone will follow the rules. I'm just saying The discretion comes in how it's handled on different levels. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just like when an officer pulls you over, he can look, you're going 5 miles an hour. So that's a horrible example. As somebody, myself included, and obviously some of y'all out there, you know, some of this crime records brought up, I get speeding tickets all the time. That I know exactly that they look and find out what you're gonna get. That's why it's, and, you know, it is black and white. Because you would hope that if somebody wants to contest it and they're not contesting the black and white and they seek legal counsel, then it's gonna be a disaster for the city.
Well, and I see your point of view. I was looking at it from the way we look at code enforcement issues. We will enforce this ordinance. Nobody will be saying, okay, well, you don't have to follow it. It's okay. No, everyone will do it. It's just gonna be the road to getting it there. I mean, it's just like sometimes most of the time when we have tall grass and somebody gets written up for tall grass, well, we generally say, and I'm just gonna use this word, 48 hours to cut your grass. But if you look down and you see it's gonna rain for the next 3 days, and it's already water standing in the yard, you may have to say, give me 5. So you got time for it to dry up for you to do that. I mean, it's just discretion. They're gonna have to cut their grass. It's just always the path to get there, if that makes sense.
Understandable.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I appreciate that point of view, because I wasn't looking at it from that way. I was,
Okay. Mr. Hall, do you want to
Yes, ma'am.
speak?
Eddie kinda answered it, but. Billy Hall, 504 Committee Avenue. The gentleman that you're talking about here, I understand everything, good discussion, matter of fact, a lot of sense made here. There's a problem. Is there any way that we can find a solution to kinda help somebody like that? And you kinda answered it, violations are violations, you know, I get it. So that was my question. Because we may have a lot of people coming in here, they're using their RV or camper to work on a lot or a parcel, and they're gonna leave. If that's a future citizen of Callaway, let's kinda help him get in here. Maybe he'll bring somebody with him. See what I'm saying? So, if we got a problem, can we find a solution? Kinda give just a leeway of something, even though it's not a recreational vehicle. He's using that vehicle to get back and forth to that property. Yeah, but you kinda answered what I wanted.
so there's 2 ways to look at it. One way is he's using it to get there, but he's staying there. It's
Yeah.
being parked there for a week at a time, and he's living inside.
Yeah.
So, you know, my first inkling to what they were talking about is, he's had 4 years, when's he gonna build a
Thank
structure?
you.
And that's my first question.
I get that part
Right.
too.
So,
I get that.
there's 2 ways. Number one, if let's say that code enforcement rolls up on somebody and they go, hey, you can't do this, and he goes, hey, it's just gonna be till Friday, and then I'll make arrangements and I won't do it again. Code enforcement's gonna say, that's fine.
Yeah.
They're gonna check it on Friday or Monday to see if it's gone, right? If it's something like, if this guy says, hey, I'm gonna need 6 months, or I'm gonna need a year, he needs to go and come up before this commission and ask for a variance.
Right.
And he can say,
Exactly.
I want and they're gonna say, what's your time frame? Because they've done it many times. Well, I need 6 months. Okay, well, in 6 months, if he was building his structure, it'd be fine.
Well, and the thing, when I was thinking about it back there, he may not be the only person to ever do this. If we could find something, say, hey, we got something in place that we allow this person to do.
Yeah.
You know, not breaking the code or not breaking the law or whatever, but giving somebody just a little bit of slack.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, I get it's a recreational vehicle, I get it that he's living in it, but he's also coming back and forth to work on a place that he's gonna build a home within our city.
Yeah.
Could he, you know, come to you or come to the city or just to the commission, like you were just saying, and get a variance.
He can come up and get a time variance.
Yeah,
And these guys have done it multiple times.
and if we got something in place, if this happens, it's gonna, Murphy's Law, if it happened once, it's gonna happen again.
Right.
When we got
Code
something.
enforcement is not gonna give a 6-month leeway. They're
Yeah.
not gonna do it. They'll give you small amounts of time and increments to do stuff, but they're not gonna give you.
There was a good
I doubt they
discussion
give you
between the
30
two guys
I doubt they would give you
about
30 days. This comes back to whatever their discretion is. If they go, I can live with it for 30 days. You know, if the reasoning behind it justifies, okay, we'll give you a little extra time. If it's justified, and a lot of times it can be proven, you know, go get a building permit.
A
Get your building
solution,
permit.
just any kind of solution.
And then, you know, then you can say, hey, I'm building on this and this is my recreational vehicle. That's probably something, it would be, that's gonna be at the discretion of the code enforcement officer. They come in and say, you know what, I'm not comfortable with this, I need you to go get a variance.
Okay. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
thought about him and thought about other people that might, I mean,
Yeah.
he's not planning on living in it forever, he's trying to build a home, but it is, like Bob was saying, hey, this is it, but if it does happen to come up later down the road again, at least we got something in place that we can help someone with.
Agreed.
It's already there today.
Billy,
You've been involved in, most of our meetings,
Mhm.
and you remember some of them. We had when we changed the ordinance related to, Connex.
Yes.
And one of the people that, came before us said that, you know, he wants to keep his Connex and whatever. We told him he couldn't, but how much time do you need to move that Connex? He said, 5 years.
Well, that's a little.
Code enforcement run into those kind of people, and when I was on the code enforcement board, when people came before us, the code enforcement board, for something like as simple as cutting the grass, you know, and, we find out that, and all the testimony and everything, and including the individual's testimony, that they didn't think too much and used all kind of language concerning the code enforcement officers and all that. And, we were very considerate of them. We gave them about 3 days to cut the grass, where if they, at least, you know, if they told, some of the code enforcement officer, well, I've got my lawnmower in the shop, I'm gonna be bringing it out. And these days, we've actually changed the code enforcement ordinances and done away with the code enforcement board and given more latitude to the code enforcement officers, because in certain cases, they can say, well, when's your lawnmower coming out? Okay, all right, can you have it done in 15 days? You know, that kind of thing. It's given them the option to do it.
Well, what I was thinking when you were talking was, say this gentleman's driving 200 miles and to come here, you know, and he wants just, I'm going back in 2 days, 3 days, you know what I'm saying? Just something that kind of, because the way I see it, if we put something in place now, you'll have something in place when it happens again. You know what I'm saying? Some kind of guideline, and then I get the bottom line.
That could be happening for the next 10 years. I'm working on my property for the next 10 years.
Well, no, I'm not saying longevity, I'm not saying anything like that.
But in this case here, it's 4 years. How long does it take to build a house?
I don't know.
They build it 3 months, average 6.
Average 6, yeah. And you're,
But if you're building it yourself, and I can see that.
but they can get a variance. It's not that the door's so totally closed. It's just that they can come in front of us and ask for a variance.
I'm not crazy about the living in it part.
Well, I agree.
The parking it there, I'm fine with that. But living in it, I don't know.
Well, this precludes it.
Exactly. I'm talking about as far as variance.
Okay. Well, we've had 1 or 2 that we've allowed, because of hurricane Michael.
Finishing up.
Yeah, but also most of those had structure on them.
Right.
That's what makes this building unique, is that there's not a structure there.
Plus,
It's a violation.
Here's why we asked them to finish up. They did.
Pour me a foundation, give me something.
Yeah.
Kevin, you can clear this up also. We had one citizen that, here again, he's got a vacant piece of property next to him. There are 2 different addresses, but of course it's adjacent to it. One of the things we told that citizen is that, well, go ahead and include it all in your property. Then you've got that as part of your property. You can put a fence.
Yeah, combine your
And
parcels.
then combine your properties. He told me that, he was told that if he combined the properties, and then later on wanted to sell that particular property to somebody to put a house on it, then he couldn't divide it back up again. Is that, and I told him, no, that's not right, but I'm saying that.
Yeah, you could come do a lot split.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can combine it, and then later on,
I know some in
Now,
our
depends what
neighborhood that's done
he
that
builds
already.
on it, accessory wise, it might be harder to do, but I mean, yeah,
You can,
you can divide
it's
it.
your property, they can't tell you you can't divide it.
well, the other property that
The
you're
only
doing.
way we would say that you can't divide it is if you were pulling off part of it that didn't fit into that zoning. So if you had, let's say all the lots were, you know, R3s around it, you can't split an R3.
Right.
Because then your zoning is gonna be a much smaller lot, and nobody wants to see a bunch of tiny homes going in, so we would deny something like that. It has to fit into the zoning category that it was in before. But if you took, they're all the same size parcels, you combine two, you can split them apart, just like what we did with Habitat.
Right.
One thing you might consider, and I'm not sure if it works out, against you, when you combine your parcels, the one parcel that's unimproved becomes improved, if I'm not mistaken, and that would increase your property tax. So it's just something to think about.
Well, if your RV is that important, you will pay that
Yeah,
additional.
not a big deal, but it could, 4 to 5 times your property tax, so.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
That's not our decision.
Right.
Did anybody else, Mrs. Carnahan?
I'm here for it.
Scott say something?
We don't know what he said.
We're not sure.
Jeff Carnahan, 7752 Shadow Lake Drive. 2 years ago, I was gonna combine my property with the property next door to me, and I was told by Bill Fry that I could never uncombine it once I combined it. So my question is now, I understand the procedure to split a parcel and everything else, but I was told that once I combined them, I could not uncombine them. I was misinformed, I'm taking that?
You were misinformed.
I just covered that.
Yes, and
I don't know where that came from, I will try to track that down.
it came from the horse's mouth, Bill
Yeah,
Fry.
I agree, and that's why I just don't know.
I've been
what
told
the
things from
circumstances
Bonnie, and then I come here to the commission meetings, I never said that. And you guys have to make things more black and white, and she has to, or everybody has to follow.
Well, it's black and white now.
Well, yeah, you're saying it's black and white, but then Pam brought up, as long as I have a trailer connected to a vehicle, so if I keep my boat connected to my vehicle, is that considered a mobile unit then or not?
Well, I don't know if you want
I mean, I have.
to
two-
tow your vehicle to Walmart.
I have two pickup trucks, I can put it on one pickup truck and, so I can have a boat and I can have 2 boats in my yard or what? I don't understand this.
I don't either.
And I know Pam asked this question and I'm asking it now.
Kevin? No, man.
If it's always hooked up, that's what you guys are talking about.
I know.
It's not being stored.
Yeah, it's not being, so how does that, I mean,
It doesn't intrude on the right of way, because once that boat's connected to a truck, you're gonna be parked in the right of way.
No.
Stop,
not his house.
Pam. I got other questions too.
Okay.
I got other questions too, or stop.
But the majority would be in.
that's a good question.
Yes, no, I agree.
That's why I love public comment, because we can look at these.
And if we have a right-of-way ordinance, how come people were here at the last commission meeting complaining about flags and stuff, including the right-of-way? That should be a no-brainer.
What was intriguing around?
The flags and stuff on Temple Parkway, at the Fast Five,
These businesses that put up those big flags and then you can't see the
Yeah,
flag.
they're not supposed to be there.
No.
but, I mean, we have ordinances supposedly that are on the books, and they're not being enforced or what? I mean, I don't understand this.
So, that was brought to our attention. By the way, all of that has already been corrected by the property owner. The flags have been moved. We did have some questions about some of the trees.
Oh,
And I will tell you, they met DOT regulations because that was DOT's area. We went and requested to the property owner moved to those streets at our request. So, we run into, you know, stuff like that where, I mean, they follow the rules and regulations, but that's a DOT regulation, and it created hardship. Fortunately, that property owner was like, hey, I get it, no problem. And they cooperated, and those trees have been moved, and the flags have been moved also. So, but in that case, that was an issue of, cause even, you know, Bill Fry's the one that went up, he looked at it. They met regulations for DOTs, cause that, you know, right there facing that. Yeah, that's in there right away and everything. Didn't really work for us, and so we almost have to look at it and see, you know.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
something like
I
that.
agree with the 15-foot rule, but I think it shouldn't just apply to RVs, it should apply to every lot in town, and what Kevin's saying, it does apply, and there's a lot of places in the city that, you cannot see, I mean, you have to pull out into the middle of the road to look down the road to see if anybody's coming at you, by that time you're right down. That's all I have to say. But my question about if I have two trucks and I leave one hooked up to my boat all the time, can I have two boats or not?
Say,
No, because that would still be,
They'd be skating around the rules.
Yeah.
I don't like this thing that if it's hooked up to a vehicle.
I don't
Yes,
either.
that's what I'm saying.
I think we need to kind of reconsider all of that, because then the next thing you're gonna have is that everybody's gonna hook up their boat to the truck. When code enforcement drives by, it's there. I can give you 15 code violations that happen on the weekend.
Yeah, just real quick, Bonnie and Bill are on planned vacation, or they're
Right,
not here today,
I understand
just so
that.
everybody knows that. Let me run this by them, they may have a different, or
Yeah.
not as much as Bill, but Bonnie, let me run it by Bonnie, and unfortunately, they are on a plane, so I
Well,
can't
that's
reach them
fine.
right now.
Oh, that's fine, but I kind of really don't care, but they've got to say it to some degree. You know, we're the ones that are setting policy, and I don't like the idea that we're gonna allow that.
Me neither, that if it's hooked up, then it doesn't count as a.
So it's
I
not,
think it's still.
I understand you want to talk to code
Still
enforcement,
storage, you might have to look at it.
but we
It's
set
overnight,
policy.
it's considered storage. It's overnight.
Yeah.
And this could probably roll down to interpretation, Bonnie may have a completely different interpretation.
Yeah, but it's not interpretation, it's in there, and it needs to come out.
how is it addressed in here?
That same one that said not commercial.
Can I ask Mr. Callahan a question?
Sure.
I mean, I feel it's a workshop and we have a
All right.
limited number of people, so we
Just,
kind of.
since you brought it up, I'm gonna use you as an example.
Go ahead.
Can you hook up that boat to your truck
Yes,
and park it on your front yard?
Yep.
yes,
Front yard. Here again, not across the yard, but on your front yard,
yes.
So you're
and not be on the right of way.
Yep,
Yes, you can.
you can probably put 2 trucks there.
I could put two boats, 2 trucks, and an RV there in my front yard, and not be in
In
the
a
front
straight
yard.
line.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. He's got.
Yeah, I haven't seen the
he is-
property, I'm
he
just
is
curious.
deep.
yeah, he's very deep.
Yes.
Most properties you can't, that's the
No,
reason
but
I'm bringing it
I'm
up.
saying I can, and,
That
You
house
might
was
just
built.
shot yourself in the foot.
no, I just want, I mean,
If y'all don't mind, let me get with code enforcement and see.
I understand
what
that,
they
city
can do.
manager, but what I'm saying is that I don't care what they say.
No,
We
I was
set
just-
policy.
Yeah, we need.
I'm with the mayor, we set the policy,
And then you go back to
and
the
that
same
policy
thing, black and
does
white
not
about
look,
it.
I understand what you're saying.
My comment was directed at, to see how they're currently handling it, because they may already be handling it that way, they're not here to
They
represent
may be enforcing it
themselves.
that way.
They may be enforcing
They
it
don't care
that
if it's hooked
way,
up or not, it's still,
and I'm
it's still
just
considered
speaking
storage.
because I'm not in
It would
code
need to do
enforcement,
anything
so.
about it.
But if we're not enforcing it that way now, we will.
But we need to change this.
Not
Not necessarily.
Kevin says not necessarily.
I don't think it really.
There's nothing in here,
Yeah.
there's nothing in there that says if it's hooked up to your
Where did it
vehicle,
say hooked up?
it's
It
exempt.
doesn't.
It doesn't, that's what I'm saying, we may
Yeah,
not need to
it
change
doesn't
it.
Because I
say
didn't
that.
see
Yeah,
it.
there's no exemption for it if it's hooked up to your
Yeah.
vehicle.
So, I think it's clear, it doesn't matter if it's hooked up or not.
Right.
Once again, I was stating interpretation,
Yeah, I know, but
and so
So we're gonna just spell it
you may
out.
want to interpret that way, but you know, we as a commission wanted to be enforced that just because it hooked up doesn't mean that it's okay.
yeah, and that's what
Right.
we were going to,
The issue, I think, would apply more, and we're talking about boats here.
Right.
Yeah.
In this case, but really, when you think about it, it could be work trailers,
Yes.
because that's gonna be that's the normal.
Well, we have a lot of lawn businesses that live in Callaway that have work trailers, you know, and that would be another issue.
But then if it
That's
says the
considered commercial.
business on the side of the trailer, it's not allowed, because.
that's right, it's already not allowed on commercials.
But is it being
So
enforced?
then,
Where are they supposed to
That's
put
what
that?
they
Yes.
need, that's
Oh,
why
I-
I said we need to be
oh,
proactive.
I can address it, yes, I know that's being enforced.
But because I know of
Well,
one
I know
that's
it's
been in
not.
a driveway for a long time, it's got.
Yeah, I know it's not
business
either.
Yeah, if
So,
you just go
that's
down
what I'm
Forsyth
saying.
Drive, there's a big trailer on the side.
Been there
that
for
has-
months.
Yeah, that has his business,
So
listed
you
on
gotta
the
watch
side.
when you
I'm
say
not
it's being
complaining,
enforced.
Because it's parked nicely and it's got a place for it and everything, but, is that allowable? Just
No.
because
Is it
says-
just one?
Just because it's commercial.
It's commercial.
Yeah.
And this says non-commercial is not allowed.
Yeah. So when you say it's being enforced, I can
So,
give you a
well-
heck of a lot more than just what he gave you.
Well,
It's
that-
not being
That
enforced.
would be enforced based on this ordinance, I don't know what the current ordinance is, I'd have to go back, I'm gonna be reviewing what we currently have.
Yeah, I'm not complaining, neither is the
Neither.
neighborhood.
Well, I'll
because
play
it's-
devil's advocate, if that's the case, I'm just gonna paint my trailer and get my name off the side of it.
There you go. That's fine, then you can park it legally.
Um,
And
Or maybe take over.
which has nothing to do with this code, but in reality, you know, we have not that many business owners in the city of Callaway. And, you know, someday I'd like to have a discussion on that too. You know what I'm saying is that we discriminate against our small businesses owners. That just because they have a lawn business and they have the trailer with the name on it, that we wanna, you know, I understand we don't wanna open it to everybody, but we don't have a lot of business owners. But that's a different discussion, different day.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of allowing it myself.
Yeah.
Because,
Mhm.
you know, as long as it's neat and it's just one,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't, you know, if it's not a huge RV with a flashing light on the side.
All right, well, who's gonna write that spec?
Exactly, see, how do you
Right.
respect?
Yeah, you know,
It says you can do this.
That's
but
a
you
different
can't
day,
do
different
that.
discussion.
Yeah, with this, we just need to.
But right now, we need to,
And we're back to the same situation as, you know, we do our best, but this is another thing of, we're gonna find them, something's gonna come up. Mr. Carnahan, it's a great point, thank you for bringing it up.
Mhm.
Because these are things that we're going to encounter, and then it's gonna be come back,
It's gonna bite you in the foot or
yeah, and then we're gonna come back and we tweak a word. But these are living documents, meaning we may not have addressed everything here, we may have to come back 6 months and go, hey, we need to change this, this, and this. And that's just what we did. We just try to keep getting better at it. Be nice if we could hit it right on the first time.
That never happens.
Never.
Not with anything, life doesn't work that way.
this will happen again in about another month after we start enforcing it, it will happen.
You know, we basically given the people what they wanted the ordinance like Panama City, and this is like 99% what Panama City
Right.
did, so we just tweaked it.
It's better with that triangle defined.
Yeah.
I think that was a great thing.
And with the vacant lot issue.
Yes.
So, did our last citizen want to say anything? Okay. So, anybody up here have anything else? I think we're good with it as long as we interpret something that's hooked up to a truck.
Right.
I just have one thing I wanted to bring up, since it's open, right?
I mean, as long as it's about the RV thing. We can't talk about other stuff, because this meeting was specifically for the RVs.
Okay, so public comment is not, okay, I'm good.
No,
Because it's a workshop.
it's a special workshop, so we can only talk about the issue that it was.
It was about workshops.
Well, but no, but it can only be about RVs, this workshop,
Gotcha.
There's no comments.
so. If there's nothing else about this, we will adjourn. Thank y'all for coming and for your comments. I think that helped to clarify some things.